Hey there guys, in today's video you are going to be learning about queens against pawns. And you might think this is very silly. How will a queen ever win against a lonely and lowly class pawn? Like, the pawn just moves forward one space. And the queen is like a powerhouse. How is that pawn gonna possibly beat the queen? Well, the pawn does not beat the queen, but it does draw the position. At least that's good enough for a pawn, which is gonna try to promote. So, if you want to learn how to attack with the queen and not get drawn, then watch this video. And if you want to learn how to defend from the queen, then you might also want to watch this video. Now, without further ado, let's get started. So, in this position, don't get fooled. Black is going this way and white is going this way. And it is white's turn now, so white will obviously make that move. Then black does his move, and now it's the pawn race. White makes it into a queen. Black doesn't really make it. And now we want to stop this pawn from promoting and going to d1. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to do a forcing move. And really, there is no other forcing move than to check. And the correct check is queen to e6. And now there's this little technique. If he goes here, why would he want to go here? He just buries his king, his own king up. And really, we could just keep going here. And then this king could just walk in here, and then our queen goes here, and that pawn's gone, and this king is doomed. So, what black would do is king to f2. And now we keep checking and checking. We are just zigzagging our way to the black king. And now here's the key position. We do not check, because then we'll just be going back and forth, and threefold repetition will happen, and we will end up in a draw, and we don't really want that to happen. So, here's what you play in these typical scenarios. You play queen to d3, and that forces the king to go back. So once the king does, then we check, and now he is forced to bury himself. And now, and this is a free move, this gives us a chance to develop something or do whatever we want, because it's called a free move, and it is a free move. So what we want to do is, well, you cannot just win with the queen just checking and checking and checking. No. Oh, and this long process does not go over 50 moves. It takes 30 moves at least. But if it does take over 50 moves, well, then I hate to break it to you, but it's a draw. And I'll leave a link in the description on drawing ideas and drawing rules. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. The link is gonna be in the description and in the I button above. But anyways, in this position, you might as well just want to develop the king, because you cannot checkmate with a queen, just a queen. Yeah, you cannot checkmate with just a queen. So what we do is king to e7. Then the king has to move here. If it goes here, then we would have to just check, and then he'd go back and then just lend us another free move. So he does this. Now back to where we started. We just keep checking and checking and checking and checking. Queen to c5 check. Rook, king to b2 check. We're zigzagging our way. And now it's the key position. Can you find the key move to win this game? Pause your videos and figure out now. Well, if you chose queen to d3, I think you're getting the concept of this trick. Once the king goes back, he's gonna bury himself, and our king is gonna come here. And since this is a very long process, and I don't want to really waste a lot of time, I'm just gonna fast forward, click the fast forward button to the position that really matters. But until then, we just keep checking and checking and checking and checking until this position comes to you. Alright, now here's the position, and black just moved here. Now, as you guess, like the king just went here, so it has been a long move. It is like the 26th move actually, and king to e2 is his only option, but because to stop like to do this, and then he just doesn't waste a free move. And if he actually did go to e1, if we did go to e1, let me show you this. If he did go to e1, then this would happen, and it's mate in 2. Nothing, no matter what he does, it's mate in 2, and we win the game. And it's as simple as that. So the king has to go to e2 and back in this position, but then the same fate awaits him after queen e3. You can just play that automatically, because notice the pawn cannot capture because it's going this way, and the king cannot capture because the other king is defending it. And then once again we bury him up, and same fate awaits him. We're back in the same position. We go back, and it's mate in 2. Queen takes d2 check, and queen to b2 checkmate. And that is a wonderful trick you can play. But let me ask you this. If it wasn't the center pawns, what would happen on the bishop pawns? Keep watching to figure out. Now, as you can see in this position, it is white's turn to move, and notice that I have skipped a couple of moves. White already has his queen, and now what do you do in this position? And trust me, this will end in a draw. It's a draw, so the pawn actually wins in this position. Because if you just keep checking, like the following, king a2, and you keep zigzagging down the board with your queen, and then comes the key position, and you play queen to c3. Now, once king to b1 happens, and queen to b3 happens, what do you do in this position for black? If black makes this move, he is entirely lost, because then the whole longest process in the whole entire world starts again, and white wins. This king just comes down and down and down and down, and eventually this king is doomed. So, back in this move, what do you play? Well, there is only 2 options. Either go here or here. If you go king to c1, that dooms you, so the obvious answer is king to a1. And now, the queen cannot take, because it's a draw. The king is not in check. Well, I should not say it's a draw, it's a stalemate. It's also in the same video that I mentioned earlier in this video, but the king is not allowed to move, and he is not checked, and it is his turn, which means he is stalemated, and the game is a draw. So back in this position, if you check him, then you'll just go back and forth, and again this will happen as a 3-move repetition or a 50-move rule. It all depends on if you're gonna zigzag back like this and then come back like this. You'll have to do that 3 times to make it a repetition, or you can just go here and back and forth and sway on the disco floor. But in the end, it is a draw. So to recap, here are some rules about queens versus pawns in the endgame. I want to tell you which ones are wins. So, to recap, if it is one of the center pawns, it is a win for the person who has a queen. If it is one of the bishop pawns, it is a draw and the pawn wins. If it is a knight pawn, then it is a win for the person who has a queen. And if it is a rook pawn, then we're back to draw again. So you might want to say that out loud. So, draw, win, draw, win, win, draw, win, draw. Phew! That was hard to memorize. Not really, but you have to memorize this rule, else you won't win. These endgames. You might lose these endgames if you're black, like in this example, or you'll draw if you're white in this position. You might just draw. But I want to tell you something. Sometimes there are exceptions. So let me show you one of these. So in this position, you can see that this king is way much closer to this bishop pawn, and to this knight pawn, and it is a win. So once you do a check, and it's mate, no matter what he does. The same thing, if we back to this position, right here, say this king was here, this pawn was here, this king were here, and this queen were here. If it were white's turn, it would still be a win, even though it's a bishop pawn, because the king is just too close and black can do nothing about it. And here is something that used to trick me a lot, but now that I know the answer, I know how to deal with this problem. So let's view it. So in this position, I used to get tricked a lot, and someone would usually ask me, who is winning, and it is white to play, white or black? And I used to say that, white is winning because this is a center pawn. But what really happens, can you see a problem if I move some moves ahead? Now D2. What is the problem? The problem is that there is absolutely no checks in this position. Because of the placement of this white king, it is a draw because there is no absolute check. This does not check. This does not check. This does not check either. This does not check. And this does not check. These diagonals don't check. And if you go here, well, that'd be silly because the king would just gobble you up there would be a check, but you'd just be gobbled up. And if you had gone here, then there is no absolute checks. Wow, that's just so much arrows with such a long range. I cannot even draw all of them. But I did. Hey, I did. So it's possible. But my point is that sometimes there are exceptions, and you sometimes need to know if there are exceptions or not. And one thing I'd like to mention, queen versus queen is 99% draw if both white and black play perfectly. Just don't get yourself like skewered, like say this was the black queen was here, the king was here, and the king was here, the black queen was here, and the white queen was here. And it is white's move. White could just do this. Once your king moves, then we just take the queen, and white is pretty much winning. So just don't get yourself skewered or pinned. That is my only advice. But other than that, this is how queen and pawn endgames should be played. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, and comment down below because I would love to hear your feedback. Now I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!